It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. The church bells were ringing, guests were laughing, and I was moments away from marrying the man I loved. But then, everything stopped. My fiancé walked up to the microphone, his face pale but determined. The room fell silent, the music cut off, and all eyes turned to him. He cleared his throat, and his voice shook at first, then grew stronger. "Before I marry the love of my life, there's something I need everyone here to know. I can't hide this anymore. The truth has to come out, today." Gasps rippled through the crowd. My heart dropped into my stomach. I glanced at my mom, standing just a few rows back, dressed in a shimmering gown that looked far too extravagant for the mother of the bride. And in that moment, her face gave it away. The way her eyes widened, the way her hands clutched her purse. She knew exactly what was coming. Because my own mother had tried to steal my fiancé. Yes, you heard me right. My mom tried to take the man I loved away from me. My name is Hannah. I'm 27 years old, and until this happened, I thought my mom was my best friend. It was just the two of us for most of my life. My dad left when I was 8, and my mom raised me on her own. She was tough, witty, and always the most glamorous woman in the room. Growing up, I admired her confidence. She could walk into a crowded place and instantly command attention. We lived modestly, but my mom always carried herself like she belonged to a richer world. She loved fancy clothes, bold lipstick, and compliments from strangers. And me? I was the opposite. Quiet. A bookworm. I worked hard, built my career as a marketing analyst, and dreamed of a stable, peaceful life. That's why when I met Daniel, it felt like fate. He wasn't just handsome, though he definitely was. He was also kind, ambitious, and the kind of man who made you feel safe just by being in the room. He came from a wealthy family. Old money, country club dinners, luxury vacations, the kind of life my mom always fantasized about. At first, I was nervous introducing him to her, but to my surprise, she adored him too much. I thought she was just happy for me. Every time he came over, she'd put on her best dress, her boldest lipstick, and pour herself a glass of wine while she laughed a little too loudly at his jokes. At first, I brushed it off. That was just mom being mom, flirty, playful, larger than life. But slowly, it started to change. When Daniel left the room, she'd lean toward me and say, "He's really too good for you, Hannah. Men like him don't usually marry women like you." Her words stung. I laughed it off, pretended she was joking. But deep down, a small voice whispered, "What if she wasn't?" At first, I wanted to believe my mom was just being herself. She'd always been a little dramatic, a little flirtatious, the type of woman who thrived on attention. But after Daniel proposed, her behavior shifted. It wasn't playful anymore. It was competitive. The night I showed her my engagement ring, she gasped, clutched her chest, and said all the right words. "Oh, honey, it's beautiful. He must really love you." But then, as I leaned in for a hug, she whispered in my ear, "Men like him don't usually stick around. Be careful." The words stung. I laughed nervously, brushing it off. But in the days that followed, I noticed things I couldn't ignore. Every time Daniel came over, she dressed like she was going to a cocktail party. Silk dresses, heels, perfume that filled the entire room. She'd sit next to him at the dinner table, too close, and laugh a little too hard at his stories. "Daniel, you're so handsome. Hannah's lucky to have you." She'd say it with a smile, but her eyes lingered. One evening, when Daniel excused himself to take a phone call, Mom leaned across the table toward me. Her tone was sharp, laced with something darker. "You know, Hannah, he really deserves a woman who can keep up with him. You're sweet, but you're not sophisticated. He needs someone polished, someone like me." My fork froze halfway to my mouth. "Mom, what are you even saying?" I whispered, horrified. She just shrugged, sipping her wine, as if she hadn't just implied she'd be a better match for my fiancé. At first, Daniel didn't notice. He was polite, always respectful. But my mom became bolder. She started texting him. At first, it was innocent, little "thank you for dinner" messages. Then it became compliments. "That suit looked amazing on you tonight." "You're so successful." "How do you stay so grounded?" Daniel showed me the texts. His face was serious. "Hannah, this is weird. Do you want me to block her?" I shook my head, my heart pounding. "No, I'll handle it. She's just lonely. Maybe she doesn't realize what she's doing." But deep down, I knew she did. The real breaking point came one Saturday night. Daniel and I had plans to meet at a small Italian restaurant downtown. When I arrived, I spotted him at a table, but he wasn't alone. My mom was sitting across from him, a glass of wine in her hand, leaning forward, her laughter echoing through the room. For a second, I froze in the doorway. My stomach dropped, my hands trembling. Daniel looked uncomfortable, his shoulders stiff. The moment he saw me, relief washed over his face. "Hannah!" He stood pulling out a chair. "Your mom said you were running late, so she kept me company." But I hadn't told her where we were going. I hadn't told her anything. I sat down slowly, my eyes locked on hers. "Funny," I said, my voice tight. "I don't remember inviting you." She smirked, sipping her wine. "Relax, darling. We're family. Just thought I'd join. Besides, Daniel doesn't seem to mind." I glanced at him. He looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. That night, when we got home, I finally broke down. "Daniel, she's crossing the line. I don't know what to do." He wrapped his arms around me, his voice steady. "We'll handle it together. I'm not going anywhere, Hannah. She can't come between us." I wanted to believe him, but in the back of my mind, I heard her words replaying, "He needs someone polished. Someone like me." Things escalated quickly after that. At family gatherings, she found excuses to touch his arm, to lean too close when showing him photos. She compared us constantly. "Daniel, don't you think Hannah should start dressing a little more sophisticated? Like me?" Or, "You and I have so much in common, Daniel. Isn't that funny?" Every jab chipped away at me. She wasn't just undermining me, she was testing him. And then, one evening, she dropped the pretense altogether. I was in the kitchen, cleaning up after dinner. I overheard her in the living room, her voice low but sharp. "Daniel, you can do better than my daughter. She's ordinary. I'm the one who understands your world. I'm the one who deserves you." The plate slipped from my hand, shattering on the floor. Both of them turned. Daniel's face was pale with shock. My mom's eyes widened, caught red-handed, but then she straightened, her chin high. "Well, it's true," she snapped. "Why should you settle?" My heart cracked in two. This wasn't just jealousy. It wasn't just insecurity. My mom, my own mother, was trying to steal the man I loved. After that night, there was no pretending anymore. Daniel had heard it with his own ears. My mom wasn't just being flirty. She wasn't just jealous. She was competing with me. When she told him he should do better, something in me shattered. But Daniel didn't hesitate. He turned to her, his jaw tight, his eyes blazing. "That's enough." His voice was sharp, louder than I'd ever heard it. "You don't get to talk about Hannah that way. She is my fiancé, the woman I love. And you—" He stopped, shaking his head in disbelief. "You're her mother. How could you say that?" My mom's lips parted, but no words came out. For the first time, she looked small. I wanted to collapse into Daniel's arms, but instead, I felt this horrible mix of humiliation and fury. Because if he hadn't been there, if I hadn't overheard, would she have kept going? Would she have pushed harder? That night, Daniel held me close. "I'm with you," he whispered. "I don't care what she says or does. I chose you, Hannah, and nothing is going to change that." I wanted to believe him. His voice was strong, his embrace steady, but in the back of my mind, doubt lingered like a shadow. Because if my own mother could betray me like this, who else could I trust? Over the next few weeks, things spiraled. Mom didn't apologize, not once. Instead, she pretended as if nothing had happened. She still invited us over for dinner, still poured herself wine and dressed like she was going on a date, still made those little jabs about me, always in front of Daniel. Daniel, you really deserve someone who can keep pace with you socially. Hannah's more homely, don't you think? He'd shut her down every time. No, Hannah's exactly who I want. End of discussion. But the more he defended me, the bolder she seemed to get. One Saturday afternoon, I walked into her house to find her sitting far too close to Daniel on the couch. She was laughing, her hand brushing his arm. The moment she saw me, she sat back, her smile tight. "Oh, Hannah, you're early." "Early? I was right on time." Daniel looked uncomfortable, shifting away from her. "Your mom was just telling me about her yoga classes." He said it awkwardly, like he couldn't quite believe the conversation himself. I forced a smile, but inside my stomach twisted. Later that night, I confronted her. "Mom, this has to stop. You're making me feel like I can't even trust you around my fiancé." Her expression hardened. "Oh, don't be so dramatic. I'm just being friendly." "Friendly?" I snapped. "You told him I wasn't good enough. You told him you'd be a better match." She smirked, her voice low. "Well, am I wrong?" The room spun. I stared at her, speechless. She actually believed it. Daniel started avoiding her altogether after that. If she invited us over, he made excuses. If she called, he let it go to voicemail. But she didn't stop. She started showing up at his office. One afternoon, his assistant called me in a panic. Hannah, your mom's here. She says she's dropping off lunch for Daniel, but she's sitting at his desk, in his chair." I felt the blood drain from my face. When I confronted her later, she just shrugged. "What? He works so hard. I thought I'd be nice." Nice. That's what she called it. Daniel finally put his foot down. One night he pulled me close and said, "I can't take this anymore. She's crossing every line. I love you, Hannah, but if she keeps this up, something has to change." His words cut deep, not because he didn't love me, but because he was right. We couldn't keep living like this, waiting for her next move. I nodded through tears. "I'll talk to her. I'll make her stop." But the truth was, I didn't know how. Because every time I tried, she twisted it. She called me insecure, jealous, ungrateful. "I raised you on my own," she'd remind me, her voice sharp. "And this is the thanks I get? You think I want your man? Please." He just enjoys my company. But it wasn't just company. It was obsession. The breaking point came 2 weeks before the wedding. Daniel and I had gone to a final cake tasting at the bakery. When we walked in, my mom was already there. She was dressed in white, a fitted, lace-covered dress that looked suspiciously like a bridal gown. The room went silent. The baker glanced at me, confused. We weren't expecting another bride." My mom laughed, waving it off. "Oh, don't be silly. I just thought I'd try on something fun. Hannah, you should be grateful. I'm making sure everything looks perfect for the big day." But her eyes never left Daniel's, and the way she smiled at him, it wasn't maternal, it wasn't playful, it was possession. That night, Daniel sat me down. His face was serious. "Hannah, this isn't going to stop on its own. She's going to ruin our wedding if we let her. She's already tried to humiliate you. She's tried to undermine us, and today, she dressed like a bride. Enough is enough." I buried my face in my hands, sobbing. "What do we do? She's my mother. I can't just cut her off." He lifted my chin, his eyes steady. "Then I'll handle it. At the wedding, everyone will know the truth. I won't let her destroy this." His words terrified me and comforted me at the same time, because I knew he meant it. And whatever was going to happen on that day, it would be the end of my mother's game. The morning of my wedding should have been filled with nothing but joy. I should have been nervous about walking down the aisle, about whether the flowers were perfect, about tripping in my heels. Instead, I was terrified of my own mother. I woke up that day with a knot in my stomach. Jane, my maid of honor and best friend, hugged me tight. "Don't let her ruin this for you, Hannah," she whispered. "Today is about you and Daniel, no one else." I nodded, but the unease clung to me like a shadow. The church was breathtaking. Tall stained glass windows bathed the pews in soft, colored light. White roses lined the aisle, and a string quartet played softly as guests filled the room. Everyone looked radiant, buzzing with excitement. But when my mom walked in, all eyes turned. She wasn't wearing the elegant, understated mother-of-the-bride dress she'd chosen weeks before. No, she wore a floor-length gown, dripping with sequins, in a shade of silver so bright it almost looked white under the lights. Her hair was piled high, her makeup flawless, and she walked down the aisle like it was her day. Gasps rippled through the room. I heard whispers. Is she trying to outshine the bride? That dress, it's practically a wedding gown. My cheeks burned as I watched her take a front-row seat, her smile smug, her eyes scanning the crowd like a queen surveying her subjects. I tried to push it aside. Focus on Daniel, I told myself. Focus on the vows, the love, the future we're building. When the ceremony began, everything felt magical. Daniel looked breathtaking in his suit, his eyes soft when they met mine. As I walked down the aisle, I almost forgot the nightmare of the last few months. Almost. Because when I reached the altar, I saw her, sitting there, her gaze fixed on Daniel. Not me. Not us. Him. The way she looked at him made my skin crawl. And for the first time in my life, I felt ashamed of her. The ceremony began, the officiant speaking solemnly, the music swelling. But halfway through, something strange happened. Daniel's grip on my hand tightened, his jaw clenched, his eyes darted toward my mom, then back to me. And then, suddenly, he let go. My heart lurched. He stepped back from the altar, his movements stiff, deliberate. Whispers spread through the church. "What's happening? Is he okay?" Daniel turned to the officiant, his voice firm. "Give me a moment." Then he walked toward the microphone. The music cut off. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, and my mother, sitting in the front row, sat up straighter, her smile faltering. Daniel stood there, his hands gripping the microphone, his chest rising and falling with each heavy breath. "Before I marry Hannah, before I make her my wife, there's something I need to say." The room went silent. I felt my blood run cold. He turned to face the guests, his voice echoing through the church. "I can't keep this secret anymore, not after everything that's happened. The truth has to come out today." Gasps. Murmurs. My knees wobbled beneath me. I looked at my mom. Her face drained of color, her lips pressed into a thin line. She knew exactly what he was about to do, and in that moment, I realized this was it, the showdown we'd all been waiting for. My mom leaned forward in her seat, her eyes wide. "Daniel!" she hissed, her voice barely audible but dripping with panic. "Don't you dare!" But he didn't even look at her. He looked at me. And for the first time that day, despite the chaos, I felt safe. Because whatever he was about to reveal, he was doing it for us. The crowd held its breath. The silence was deafening, heavy with anticipation. Daniel tightened his grip on the microphone, his voice steady but filled with fire. "Hannah, you deserve to know, and so does everyone here. Your mother—" He paused, his eyes locking with mine. "Your mother tried to take me away from you." The church erupted. Gasps, shouts, whispers flying like sparks in the air. I heard my aunt cry out, "What?" I heard cousins whisper, "No, that can't be true." My heart pounded so hard I thought I might collapse. And my mother, she shot to her feet, her sequined gown glittering under the lights, her face twisted in fury. "You liar!" she screamed. "How dare you say that about me on my daughter's wedding day?" But her voice cracked, and everyone could see it. She was cornered. I stood frozen at the altar, my hands trembling, my breath shallow. Everything around me blurred, but one thing was clear. This wasn't just my wedding anymore. This was the reckoning, and Daniel was about to expose everything. The church was in chaos. Gasps, murmurs, people shifting uncomfortably in their seats. My mom stood at the front row, her sequined gown shimmering under the lights, her finger pointed at Daniel. "You liar!" she shrieked. "How dare you drag me into your little drama?" But Daniel didn't flinch. He lifted his phone high for everyone to see. "This isn't drama," he said, his voice like steel. "This is the truth, and I'm done letting it stay hidden." He tapped the screen, and his words filled the church. "For weeks, months even, your mother has been sending me messages. Not just friendly messages, not just casual conversation, but this." He began to read. His voice echoed through the vaulted ceiling. "Daniel, you're too good for her. She doesn't deserve you." Gasps. People turned their heads, whispering. He scrolled again. "Imagine what life would be like with someone who really understands you. Someone like me." My stomach dropped. I felt sick. Even though I knew the truth, hearing those words aloud, my own mother's words, was like a knife twisting deeper into my chest. Daniel's voice grew stronger. "These are her messages. To me. Your daughter's fiancé. The man standing here about to marry Hannah. And it didn't stop with words. She cornered me more than once. She told me to leave Hannah. She said she would be a better match." The crowd gasped again, louder this time. Aunties clutched their pearls. Cousins stared wide-eyed. My mother's face drained of color. "That's not true," she screeched. "He's twisting everything. Those were jokes. I was just playing around," but no one was buying it. Her voice cracked, her hands trembled. Daniel shook his head, his eyes blazing. "You don't joke about seducing your daughter's fiancé. You don't show up in a wedding gown to your own daughter's cake tasting. You don't tell me—" He looked at me then, his eyes filled with fire and sorrow. "You don't tell me your daughter is ordinary, that she's not enough." The crowd erupted again. Gasps, murmurs, even boos. I stood frozen, tears streaming down my face, not because I doubted him, but because the truth was finally out there. Everyone could see it. Everyone knew. My mother, my own mother, had tried to steal the man I loved. She tried one last time. Her voice shrill, desperate. "You're lying. You made those up. You want to make me look like the villain." But then Jane, my maid of honor, rolled forward in her wheelchair, her voice calm but sharp as a blade. "We all saw it, Aunt Linda," she said, using my mother's name. "We saw how you looked at him. We saw how you treated Hannah, and now we've seen the proof. Stop embarrassing yourself." The church went still, all eyes on my mom. Her mask cracked completely. She dropped back into her seat, her hands shaking, her face pale. The sequins on her gown glittered under the lights, but she looked nothing like a queen now. She looked small, weak, exposed. Whispers swirled around her. Unbelievable. How could she? Her own daughter. My chest heaved as I tried to catch my breath. I wanted to scream, to cry, to run, but Daniel's voice anchored me. He turned back to the guests, his voice softer now, but still steady. "I love Hannah, and I will never let anyone, not even her own mother, tear us apart. You all deserve to know the truth, and Hannah deserves to know that I chose her. Always her." My heart broke and healed in the same moment. I stepped toward him, my hands trembling, and he pulled me close. The crowd watched in stunned silence as I clung to him, sobbing into his shoulder. For the first time that day, I felt free. Free from the lies, free from the games, free from her. The door slammed shut behind her, and for the first time all day, I could breathe. The echo of her heels faded into silence, and the church seemed to exhale with me. For a moment, no one moved. Guests sat frozen in their seats, eyes wide, hearts pounding from the spectacle they'd just witnessed. And then, something incredible happened. The entire room erupted in applause. It wasn't just polite clapping. It was loud, thunderous, emotional. People rose to their feet, cheering, whistling, clapping, as if to wash away the poison my mother had left behind. I turned to Daniel, my hands trembling, tears streaking my face. He smiled at me, that steady, grounding smile, and mouthed, "We're okay. It's us now." The officiant, still visibly shaken, cleared his throat. "Well, shall we continue?" he asked softly. The crowd laughed nervously, the tension melting into something lighter. Daniel took my hands again, holding them tight, as if anchoring me to this moment. And for the first time that day, I wasn't afraid. I wasn't ashamed. I wasn't broken. I was exactly where I was meant to be, standing at the altar, ready to marry the man who had just proven, in front of everyone, that his love was stronger than any lie. We said our vows through tears. My voice shook, but I meant every word. I promise to love you, Daniel, to stand by you, even when the world tries to tear us apart. You are my home, my safe place, my forever. He squeezed my hands, his eyes glistening. I promise to protect you, Hannah, to honor you, to choose you every single day. You are my one, my always. By the time the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, there wasn't a dry eye in the church. Cheers filled the air, guests stood, clapping and crying and smiling. And as Daniel pulled me into his arms and kissed me, it wasn't just a wedding kiss. It was a victory. At the reception, the energy was different than I'd imagined, but in the best way. People hugged me, whispered words of support. "You're so strong, Hannah. He's a good man. You two are going to make it. Forget her. She doesn't deserve either of you." Even Daniel's parents, who had always been polite but reserved, pulled me into a tight embrace. "Welcome to the family," his mother whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "We're so proud of you both." For once I felt like I truly belonged. Of course, there were still moments of sadness. Every bride dreams of dancing with her mother, of sharing tears and laughter over the bouquet, of having that bond celebrated on her wedding day. I didn't get that, and maybe I never would. But as I looked around at the sea of smiling faces, my friends, my sister, Daniel's family, I realized something important. Family isn't just who you're born to. It's who shows up for you, who stands by you, who fights for you. And in that church on that day, I had more family than I ever dreamed possible. Weeks later, my mom tried to call. She left voicemails, crying, begging, promising she'd change. "Hannah, please, I didn't mean it. I was lonely. I was scared. I just wanted to feel wanted again. Please forgive me." But I couldn't. Not then. Maybe not ever. Because forgiveness doesn't erase the scars. It doesn't undo the humiliation, the betrayal, the pain. And though I wished her peace, I knew she couldn't be part of my life anymore. Daniel and I built our life together, brick by brick, day by day. We bought a little house with a garden where I plant roses every spring. We laugh in the kitchen. We argue about silly things. We dream about the future. And every morning, when I wake up next to him, I'm reminded of something powerful. My mother tried to break us, but instead, she made us stronger. So here I am, telling you this story not as a broken bride, but as a woman who found her strength. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most are the ones we thought we could trust. But betrayal doesn't have to define us. We get to decide what comes next. I chose love. I chose Daniel. I chose myself. And if you've ever been betrayed, lied to, torn down, remember this: the truth always wins, and you are stronger than you know. But I need to ask you, if you were in my place, would you forgive your mother? If this story made you feel something, it would mean a lot if you'd like this video and leave a comment. This channel is all about strength, healing, and real-life stories. If you want to be part of this community, subscribe and join me. I can't wait to share the next chapter with you.